The zombie. Our ambulances come with a computer that screams at us when we get a 911 call. It's called a MODAC, which stands for something, but I just called it Jennifer, or Jennifer for short. Jennifer stands for Just in the Nick of Time for Emergency Response. The call. Jennifer rang Monday, 9:25 p.m., 9 Delta, cardiac arrest. Yes! 19th and Bonanza, 67-year-old male found down by friend. Caller will be waiting. We were already posted 24 Paul, which is our radio code for downtown Las Vegas. It was a quick code 3 ride over, and the caller was waiting for us outside, flagging us down. As we hustled down the long hallway to the last door on the left, always the last door, she told us this story. He was several hours late for the party and didn't answer his phone. I had his spare key, so I opened the door and saw him lying there. I think he's dead, and with that she pushed open the apartment door like her speech was perfectly timed for this murder mystery theater show. She stepped aside and allowed us to enter first. We are trained to evaluate the scene for safety. Can't express how important this is. They teach us this in school. They reinforce it at work. Scene safety, and always wear your gloves. So we looked around before entering. The door opens into a partition that blocks a direct view from the hallway. When we stepped around it, we were standing where the kitchen floor linoleum meets the carpeting for the rest of the apartment. We had a view of the entire space. It was neat but sparse, the kind of mismatched for free furniture that takes years, several neighbors moving out, and a few deaths for one to acquire. What you would expect from an elderly person with little money, but still capable of tending their lives. At the far end of the living room is a slider glass door leading to a prison cell-sized balcony common to the floor plan of most apartments here in Vegas. The drapes haven't been opened in years, and what was once white is now off white. The apartment smells musty, but not of cigarette smoke, and just off to the left is a hallway that leads to the bedroom and bathroom. Suddenly, my partner Dex elbowed me forward and mumbled, "You're the medic." Then he pushed his glasses back up his nose, shrugged, and smiled at me. Guess I was frozen there. This is my first death call as a medic, and when I looked back, the caller was gone, and we would never see her again. The patient, heart rate 0, respiratory rate 0, is visible from just past the partition and is obviously dead. You wonder how I know he's dead? He collapsed in front of the refrigerator with the door still open. He had literally collapsed on top of his own legs and looked like a triple-decker sandwich made over 4 floor tiles. Feet, legs, torso, and head hanging like a melon. He had been there long enough for the room to warm up from the refrigerator working so hard, trying to keep its contents cool. His arms had fallen neatly by his side, and the little plate he was carrying the muffin on was still in his left hand, but was tilted sharply because the far edge was resting on the floor now. The bottom half of the muffin landed butter side down and stuck there next to the plate, but the top half must have rolled off in an arc, away from him at first, but then it curved back around because it ended up on his right side, 2 tiles back. The butter was still on the counter in a butter tray with a knife lying just beside it. The muffin was for his dinner, the cold bowl of noodle soup in the living room. It was on the little table in front of the computer that still had his email up. Huh, at least it wasn't porn. There was some marijuana and a little metal pipe on the table too. Unfortunately, the marijuana was Mexican dirtweed, nothing I would smoke. He was obviously dead. Nobody could stay in that position and still breathe. But now he was rubbery, his skin mottled, splotchy, red, squishy, swollen, and the color did not pink up. when I poked him. In fact, just the opposite happened. My finger made an indent that stayed there. Dependent lividity. Yuck. The whole scene was way creepy, but when Dex and I looked at each other, it made things a little better. Aw. It was his first dead body, too. The problem with pronouncing a dead body dead is this. Don't be wrong. Doesn't matter dead or not dead. Just don't be wrong. Know what I mean? It always makes the news when someone gets it wrong. Our protocols define a set of very specific criteria we must follow to determine if a non-traumatic patient is really dead. There are 4 presumptive signs. 1, no pulse. 2, not breathing. 3, not responding. 4, fixed and dilated pupils. But these signs alone are only presumptive and do not allow us to formally pronounce death. There must be at least one conclusive sign to support the claim of medical death. Otherwise, we must work the body and transport to the appropriate hospital. The conclusive signs are rigor mortis and dependent lividity, which means fluid leaking from your veins and pooling in the body's tissues. I started looking through the apartment, but walked back to the body and poked it again. Still dead. I walked to his bedroom to gather up his meds and document what was left. After dumping most of his generic Valium pills into my gloved hand, then reversing the glove when pulling it off. That hides the pills before I smoothly slip the balled up glove into my pocket. But what was really on my mind was that body, and I walked back to the kitchen to poke it again. Still dead. Woo! I looked around the computer area to see what else was going on and found myself repeatedly looking back to make sure he was still dead. Turns out dead bodies are like losing your keys. You know they're not in your pockets, but you keep checking and rechecking them anyway. As we were leaving, Dex put his hand on my shoulder to stop me. There was no need to check again. This call still haunts me. It could just as easily be me, especially now, while sitting here writing this bad karma tell-all fuck you book, sitting in front of my computer, eating some pea soup with noodles in it, steamed vegetables on the side. I don't want to end up somebody's zombie, but the irony doesn't escape me either. Scary, but if you're reading this, I didn't die writing it. Phew! Even though it's been years since I've done the job, I can still spot the sick and dying as they walk by, from across the room, as they go about their day. It's something that never went away. I would call it a talent, but it's not. And again, I find myself knowing what will happen before it does. I hate and miss the excitement of the job every day of my life and would trade everything to do it again.